What's good, everybody? Back once again and here to talk about a good, great episode of Raw. I say, there was really no weak points. I will say with tonight's Raw, and even something that you might think is a weak point, I still was like, I like that stuff in it. So I'm just gonna do a quick rundown of stuff in here and there to jogs in my memory and whatnot. But let's go with and let's start off big with the fact that Sami Zayn went through and won the gauntlet match. Now, going into this, when you seen the 6 people, I automatically in my head was like, okay, there's 2 people. Nobody else that I was like, Bronsonreed, no. Nakamura, no. JD, hell no. Ricochet, nah. It was really just Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. And to be honest, I really based this off of the first couple people. And I say that to say is that I was like, Sami Zayn been doing this story a while about trying to get on WrestleMania, trying to get on the card and all this other stuff. While Chad Gable recently here in like 2 weeks didn't have like a total like character shift. So of course it's gonna be like those two. But once it was Ricochet JD that came out in the opening, I was like, okay, I'm starting to think that it won't be Chad Gable. And then after that, it was Bronson Reed, and after that, I was like, okay, no, it's not gonna be just because I felt like the drama would have built up more if you would have had Chad try to survive through nearly all of them with the whole daughter crying line and all that other stuff. Whereas like Sami Zayn is, I was like, and then Sami Zayn sort of became like the underdog workhorse guy, and I was like he does that just as well, but I'm like Sami Zayn can do that without having to actually be in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Sami Zayn is just that good of a underdog that he didn't need that as much as Chad Gable. And not that Chad Gable doesn't play the underdog well, but I was like he had the story to go with it. To me, that is more sympathetic than Sami Zayn's. Um, but Ricochet and JD had a great match. Um, like theirs was like theirs was so good and hard hitting and long that it was like, well, what the hell they gonna do with the rest of them? And after that, Bronson Reed just basically just killed Ricochet, even though Ricochet tried to do some offense. Then I was like, he really killed Sami Zayn to an extent, and then basically Sami Zayn was able to get him with I was like basically a top. I was like a power bomb basically. Flip over power bomb on the top rope basically, and Sami Zayn. I was like Bronson Reed didn't like it, gave him the tsunami. Didn't matter. Shinsuke couldn't take advantage of it. And once again, he beat Sami Zayn again, and I mean Nakamura again. And at that point, Chad Gable comes out, but Chad Gable want to do this like a man and stuff like that. So he picks him up, and then they just go from there. And they basically had a good exchange of you know Chad Gable with his technical moves, with Sami Zayn countering, and you would have thought it would have ended basically with from Sami Zayn doing a surprise one-legged hopping haluva kit to the Chaos Theory with uh, Chad Gable and taking out his ankle. And nope, just roll up. And I was like, got some other end, got pinned, and that was pretty much it. And Sami Zayn is going to face Gunther. And I, and not gonna lie, I was like, not that I wouldn't mind Chad Gable winning or nothing like that, because they were really trying to put him over, and especially on commentary, like he ain't never had a championship. But it's not that I don't think, it's not that I think that's done, but I think also with how like I hear other people talking about like they're gonna do the Batch of Berlin. I think it's easier for him to beat Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, and it doesn't do anything really to Sami Zayn's credibility or him being in bigger matches. Whereas like if he beats Chad Gable again, it sort of does just put it as like, okay, well he's not gonna face Gunther again, and it's like it's gonna be a while, and it depends on who it is. To like I'm like that loss at WrestleMania doesn't hinder trying to I was like trying to build him back up again. Where it's like you might have to do a whole branding thing. I don't know. But yeah, no, good match nonetheless. Other things to note. McIntyre had a promo where he basically was talking about Seth Rollins and accepting the match, and Seth Rollins basically, just calling him hypocrite and stuff like that. It was a fun back and forth for basically he calling out Drew for basically using the bloodline after all the talks that you didn't want to use the bloodline, and sort of seemed like stroking the fire of, oh, when the bloodline try to do something again, you're gonna take advantage of it. Which I actually think that when the bloodline do try to interfere with Seth Rollins' match, I do think Drew will actually surprise everybody and take out the bloodline. But not to say that he won't win, but I think it'll be something surprising and like, oh, he actually helped him out. Claymore, Seth Rollins, 1, 2, 3, that type of thing. Or Seth might keep the title. We'll see. Yeah, so that was just basically with that. Going to the other promo, Jay finally challenges Jimmy at WrestleMania, brother, me versus me kind of thing. And cool. I was like, cool. I was like, you didn't really need any more of it. It is going to be something to see if he gets involved in this bloodline thing, just because Jimmy and Solo are going to be involved. So why wouldn't Jay be as well? I don't know. We'll see about that. And also the other promo we sort of got was Cody talking to Michael Cole. And I was like, other than Cody crying, which is funny that after all of, the crybaby stuff, he was being a crybaby, technically. But he basically was like, he doing it for more than just, he doing it for his mom, for his wife, can't give it to his dad, so that kind of thing. But I did like that the way that they sort of opened it up of, can you trust Seth? Is Seth really doing this to help you, or is he doing it for himself, considering he's the last one that beat Roman even by disqualification? That is he the one that really wants to beat Roman kind of thing? Which is funny because it's the fact that this has been like a thing that's been on the internet and stuff like that, and so it's cool that it sort of popped up as a question or a thing that I guess is in the zeitgeist of the wrestling people, that it can be a thing. Can you trust them and all that other stuff? Which Cody never fully answered these questions. He sort of sidestepped these questions in a way that's like, yeah, I can. Even though we had history, I can't. I was like, it's always there's a couple dots in when you read between those lines. Yeah, but other than that, I thought the Kabuki Warrior versus Shayna and Zoe Stark, which I really wish they would have a name if they're gonna stick like this, like I don't know. Don't try to get me on the name. I was gonna try and I was like, no. I thought that was a fun match. The ending sort of was just a little lackluster with the way that Damage Control sort of helped out, but not really. It was just a Coda guy. But I was like, it was hard hitting. I was like, they had a good back and forth, and also their styles too. Just because I feel like Zoe and Shayna is like very like bruiser, and while Kari and Asuka is like, I was like, finesse is not the specialty word I want to say, but that's the best one I can come up with right now. But because Boogie Wars 1 and all, cause I was like, they're going to probably have a match at WrestleMania. Against who? We'll see about that combination. I was like, another women's tag team match. Indy and Candice LeRae basically versus Ivy Niles and Maxxine Dupri. It didn't go long, but that wasn't the purpose of the story. It was it was weird because I was like, it wasn't expected of the match, but understandably, I figured they were gonna get a match from last week, but the way the show was really fast paced, but basically it was just Candace is coming at Maxxine Dupri, doing all the stuff from the internet where it's kind of like, you don't belong here. What are you gonna do? You gonna cry? You know why they're booing you? Because you're not good at this. This kind of, I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. Also, they made a story out of it. This is good. Then I couldn't fully hear it the way they had it sounded, but it sounded like basically like your brother died, or why, or your it sounded like basically she was making fun and coming at her for her brother dying or something like that, and it was like some real shit where it was like, oh, that's wild, that's wild. And then Maxxine was like, I can't do this, to try to walk away, and Indy hit her with a boot, 1, 2, 3, and then it was like, I'm gonna get out the ring. But it was really just like, I'm like, oh, okay, so cool. They doing something with Candace, and we'll see how Indy goes with that. But cool, I'm totally fine with her getting a character change, while also doing something with Maxxine Dupri of like trying to make her, like a sympathetic figure because of everything, but also in the process she could do something like whoop her ass, that kind of thing. Um, and I was like, man, I think it was pretty much the promos, the women's matches, and the gauntlet. Uh, I was like, I mean, we did have R-Truth and Damian Priest. That was sort of a wash match. A couple are going to get the ladder match, six-man tag, which that's going to be dope and awesome. They got DIY versus the Creed brothers next week, and that's weird to me, just because you would think that you would want both of those teams in it, just because DIY sort of been on the hot spell. Creed sort of been the new people, boys on the block. So you would think that you want them. Yeah, but anyway, I was like, they gotta face 5 other teams, so I'm like 1, 2, 3. So the other 2 gonna come on SmackDown. Okay, cool, whatever. Yeah. So they're gonna have that. Yeah. So I was like, then we had Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, and I was like, at first I didn't think the crowd would whiff it, but then after a while I was like, the crowd, like they gave the "This Is Awesome" chance, which like, I'm like, cool, they gave that, and because it wasn't, I didn't hear too much of it, but they was playing into it quite a bit at times. Kind of first it was like Becky, then after a while it started being Liv, and I think no, they both showed out. It was a really great match, but I was like, it's the Liv portion of it, especially because Liv is sort of, especially coming back, she's getting a little bit more run. You know how some people on the internet divided about it, whether Liv is not necessarily that she's not good, but it's like the people who are really for Liv versus the people who like, oh my god, calm down, with it. But the fact that I was like, but at the same time, you could see that, like, one, Liv has really, I think she's improved way more than what she was before she got injured. She seems like her timing of like, and her counters, like she seemed like she really became like a really good counter move type of person. That's her fighting style, is really just it's the countering or stuff like that. There's some people that I think that could do that very well, as Um, I was like, also, I just like the way like her. I was like, I always thought that's like the way her body moves and contorts. It's almost like, like how Dolph Ziggler like sells. It almost made like the way that she could get ragdoll in the way. I was like, it really sold really good. Like a couple of times where Becky was giving her the man slam or whatever it's called. I was like, she the folds, and I was like, but whatever. I was like, she hit her with a couple of lions. I was like, dang it, not the lion salt, but I was like, the coder or whatever it is. I was like, golly, I was like, I'm gonna hate myself. I'm gonna think about it later on about it. But it was a great match. And then you see them later on, like, you sort of see like they acknowledged it in the ring, but Becky went to her in the back and acknowledged her about it. And as soon as they're shaking hands, Nia just comes and just obliterates both of them, throwing her over and slamming Becky through a table. And we see Becky later on basically just doing like, we're going to do a last woman standing match. And you got to think that's going to be the main event next week. Yeah, I can't. I was like, there may have been more matches. I don't think so here. But I honestly can't think if there was any. I think that was it. I think we got it covered. But anyway, that's my Raw recap, review, summary, sped through, whatever you want to say. I was like, it was a really great match, especially considering this is that time between WrestleMania where sometimes, not that, sometimes, yes, you think it could be late, but sometimes think it could be repetitive or tiring. But this, I think, kicked off and solidified a lot of other stuff at the same time. I will say we also got Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley came out, talked to Becky, and by God, Dominic, I know his face, Buddy Murphy, Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say. If I missed a match, at the point, is what it is. Anyway, until next time for more wrestling news, updates, takes, talks. Goodbye.